So how do I pronounce your name so I don't get this wrong?
No worries. It's Tescia.
Tescia, I
So
thought so.
like, yeah.
Well, my name's Deana. It's really nice to meet you. Thank you so much for like making the time, as I said, and I'm very impressed that you glammed up within like 5 minutes. So
Yeah, nice to meet you.
really nice to meet you too. I do have a confession. I'm usually
Yeah.
very good at memorizing everyone's credits and what they've done. And when we were doing research on you, I was like, there is no way I'm going to remember all of this, Tescia. Like, there's so much to talk about.
Aw.
So I tried my hardest, but there's just so much we're going to go into. But of course, for anyone that's listening or watching and may have not come across you before, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, of course. My name is Tescia Deak. I'm a creative director currently at BBH USA. I have been in the business for, I don't know, 12 plus years. Started as a graphic designer, product designer. And now I'm a creative director. I discovered advertising a couple of years into my career. And I was like, am I in advertising? And then I realized I was, and I actually went back to SVA, did some more classes, and ended up in advertising in an agency.
Amazing. And this year, correct me if I'm wrong, you were awarded top globally ranked creative director for one show.
Yes, it's one of the top rated creative directors with the one show. And I mean, we'll see when some of like the editorial lists come out, but with the one show is on the top creatives and creative directors. So yeah.
Huge congratulations. And you said
Thank
something when you were putting your makeup on, and you said that you had no idea what you wanted to do. So let's talk about how you started from not sure what you want to do to obviously getting to this position, because I always find that so interesting. Like, talk to me a bit about how that career path panned out.
Yeah. So um, when I was in high school, I really kind of excelled at like maths and sciences, but I was always kind of in performance art. So I was always doing musicals, choir, whatever. But I was kind of like a shy kid growing up. So I guess it was like my way to be, I don't know, confident.
Hmm.
And so because I had excelled in math and sciences, I wasn't like too much into writing. I liked creative writing, but I didn't like writing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to be a neurosurgeon. That's what I'm going to do. And I had this
Really?
one, yes. And I had this one, I was in like calculus and this calculus and that calculus and all sorts of maths. And I had done some, honors classes for science, like biology, et cetera, in high school. And when I got to, I was at a community college actually, because I knew I wanted to go to UCSD, but I didn't, fill out the application, properly in the time that I needed to. So I was like, forget it. I'll just transfer. It'll be fine. And I was taking a biochem class and I was like, this lady is trying to kill me. And
I can't
this,
do this.
these word problems are also trying to kill me. And I was just like, not sure about this. So then I kind of bounced around. I went into, oh, maybe I should do finances because I really like maths, So it's like, oh, this is the most boring thing. I don't want to do this. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll do communication and just trying to understand like what that was. And a family member had died and during like kind of the middle of my college. And I took some time off. And one of the classes that I had still was a subjective class, you know what I mean? And it was an art history class. And I was a makeup artist at the time. I was working as a makeup artist since I was 18 in college. And I was like, hello, what are you doing? This is kind of your sign. So I figured out kind of what avenue to take. I retook all of my courses. I had to completely take like from beginning, start in like Art 101. And then I went to SDSU and I graduated in the graphic design kind of department. And I left that the night of my portfolio review, I flew to New York.
Wow.
And that's what I did.
I love that you tried so many things as well, because like a lot of people just power through and think, okay, it's just a job, or yeah, I'll just do whatever. But I love that you kept switching.
Yeah, I mean, I was working while I was going to school, so I was not under any time constraint. Like I already knew that I was going to be, what I like to call 4 years of life and 4 years of school. I wish it was faster, but I don't really regret it because I was able to kind of figure out what I like to do and what I love. And when I got to New York, I was working in editorial design and I did some product design. I designed some, like I did a really cool magazine redesign for Zinc Magazine. Is from a makeup artist perspective, it was pretty awesome because they had really cool editorials in there that were like just divine makeup looks, like stuff that you would never see in like a traditional, Condé Nast glamour or whatever. It was just like really avant-garde, really wild stuff. And then I worked for kind of like a startup company and they did product design and we did some like textile designs and like product designs for kind of an interior design couple. They're famous, called the Novogratz. And so some of my designs were in CV2, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, and then I just discovered, when I went to Macy's, I discovered I was in advertising. I was doing all sorts of non-traditional, or out-of-home stuff. And I was thinking, this is pretty interesting and cool. And yeah, that's how I landed in advertising.
I love that. And obviously, your role as a creative director, what exactly does that involve? I think most people have an idea, but tell me a bit more about what your day looks like.
It really depends on what agency I'm at, what the staff like looks like. If it's staffed and sometimes I can have 3, 4 teams underneath me and we will brief them with a project, give them a little bit of direction where we want them to go. They'll come back with ideas. And we'll kind of oversee that, myself and my partner. So I'm an art and I have a partner who is a writer. Sometimes I'm both. It just depends really what, if I have a partner at the time or not. Like I've been alone. And that's fun too. It's a really like big opportunity for growth, I think, and confidence. And sometimes I feel like I'm a junior art director and I'm doing, Photoshop and whatever. Sometimes I feel like I'm a CCO. It just really depends on the project or the place. But ultimately, it is being able to get a brief, for a client or a product or whatever, or create a brief, which I think is really exciting too, and bring to life that idea in a way that people are interested. Ultimately, the end goal is happiness. And, what does that look like? And I think more and more, especially in creative direction and just, advertising and whatever, branding in general, it doesn't look like it has looked for the past 50 odd years. It can look so much different now.
So basically, your role is anything that the client requires. You're constantly molding and doing different things.
Yeah, I think it just, I've said this before in some of like some other interviews that I had, but it's a lot about listening.
Yeah.
Coming from, when I was working as a makeup artist, I was in retail. I was working since I was 13 years old. Honestly, I used to work at a video store, then I worked at a surf store. I would sell skateboards, and then I was selling makeup, whatever it was. But, a lot of it comes down to, can you identify by listening critically what it is your consumer or client or whatever is looking for to achieve? Like, what are the brand objectives? So when you can identify that, you can say, okay, these are the brand objectives. This is a white space, right? Maybe there's something to play, in this territory, or maybe that's like, how can we get people to rethink something or consider something in a different way that they've never seen before? That's also something that's fun about our job.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
think it just really kind of depends on the project at this point. And like there are very, traditional creative or creative director roles that are more specifically tied to one thing, right? Like if you work for point of sale, you're like very focused on how do we get people to buy stuff in the store. But when you're working at like a traditional agency, most agencies, you kind of think like multidimensionally. It's great for me because I'm neurodivergent, so I'm able to kind of see kind of almost like a cork board in my mind's eye at all times, and all the pieces will, come together.
Yeah, I love that. I was looking at some of the campaigns and I saw the one that stood out to me was I don't know if I say this right, is it Dole's malnutrition campaign?
Yes,
That was
yes.
awesome. Honestly, I
Thank
really, really
you.
like that. It's just so it was just such a cool idea because no one ever looks at trash as well. Like there's certain areas where you just see loads of bin bags, and I love the way that you
Yeah.
put it on there and got people thinking like that was awesome.
It's funny because we just moved back to New York,
Yeah.
and I'd lived in New York for 9 years. I lived in LA for 4 years, and we just moved back a month ago. And I'm walking around my fiance, and I'm like, trash, so much part of the city's landscape that goes unnoticed. I can't help but repeat that case study. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's
Reliving
just
it
like,
over and over.
yeah, and because it really is true. Like, I'm going to say another line from the case study, but it hides a dark fact, right? That like so much of the food that we have like is wasted in New York that could feed New York City. And it's not just New York City, it's just New York City is such a like great example of that because the trash is literally a part of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's everywhere all at once all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting. It was the second iteration for malnutrition facts campaign that Dole did. They did kind of like a smaller iteration the first year, and this year they really wanted to bring it to life and get a lot of attention around the topic, right? Because so much of what they do is making, what they say, nutritious food accessible for all. It's
Yeah.
called Sunshine for All, is kind of like the vertical of their business. Um, and so they really wanted to, like I said before, make people stop and think about it. Like we're all contributors of food waste, more than we think. And like, even when you look in your fridge and you waste like half a tomato, that is it. You know what I mean? So it's just having people be a little bit more conscious of the food that they have, understanding the food that they throw out, and also understanding that like in general, especially in the United States, waste is so common. And just kind of getting people to rethink that, because so much of what we waste can help people in need.
Totally. You're so right. Like there's a similar problem here as well. We have a lot of these food banks. So for people that
Yeah.
can't always afford their food shops, and also all these different schemes that try and highlight, that rather than throwing away a vegetable that looks funny. So if a cucumber's an odd shape, don't throw it away. There's those little different companies that give you these like weird looking vegetables at a cheaper price, just so you don't put them in the bin. It's just something we never think of. And how privileged are we to be like, oh, that cucumber looks funny, I'm not going to eat it, even though there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
There was a really interesting campaign that a French supermarket did a couple of years ago that just identified that, and I think, sparked interest in the creative community to kind of how can we retain this, right? So Imperfect Foods is the brand that we have here in the US, and I actually used it myself. But you have to remember to fill it out. Otherwise you get sent a bunch of stuff and you're like, well, why do I have 25 crab apples?
I didn't even know there was a thing called crab apples. You learn something new every day.
They're like baby apples.
And they're called crab apples. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what we call them, but I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
I also saw that you're the co-founder of an awesome mentorship program. Tell me about that. It's called Matchmaking, is it?
Mentorship
Yeah.
Matchmaking is a mentorship program that myself and Laurel Stark Arkman co-founded in 2021, so just a year ago. We've had plans to do our second iteration of it this year. I moved across the country. I started a new job. It was just been nuts. So
Yeah.
we were like, let's just do it in the second half of the year. We don't always have to be like February, every single time. But one of the great things that came out of it is that there's talks to partner with a larger organization that will be able to help fund it, and also help us put it together. So it could be more of an always on thing that we don't have to I was quite literally Google spreadsheeting that whole thing, and it ended up being 400 women and non-binary creatives and account people and producers and whatever strategists that attended our 3-day program. And to kind of
Wow.
back up a little bit and tell you about how it started, I was in, I think, the end of 2020. I just started to feel the effects of having worked from home for a year. And I was lucky enough to have started a relationship in the beginning of the pandemic. So I never felt too lonely, but I did miss something. And I was like, I cannot put my finger on it. And then finally I did. And I was like, oh, community. Duh. Community, but like creative community and like feminine energy, you know.
Right.
And so I was watching a panel that she was leading, and I was just like, wow, this person, she's just so brilliant and empathetic. And, you know, I looked at her work and I was like, she's so talented. I was just like, what can I do here and now just to kind of like get out of my dark hole that I'm starting to crawl into? And so I would just start a cold call, or as you said, cold LinkedIn people, and be like,
Yeah.
hey, how are you? I really admire your stuff. And like, you know, do you ever want to have a virtual coffee? And this is an idea that I hope, you know, Starbucks, I can sell to Starbucks one day. But the
Copyright
way
it
I would
first.
do it is I would send them, everybody would get a $20 gift card. So I spent a lot of money on Starbucks gift cards that year.
Wow.
But that's how I would just like, you know, how do I make this as human as possible? So I met her. We talked in November. We had, you know, December happened as December happens. And then when we got back kind of in January, we're like, all right, let's throw this together. And it kind of came together pretty quickly. And I was able to tap into my Can Lion community, and they posted it on their social feeds, which was such a blessing. And we had like a fantastic group of, you know, people come and join. And it was a mess in a way because like it was our first time,
Right.
but it was also pretty special. You know, figuring out how to put people in Zoom rooms, that was funny. But it was also really special because we were able to share and come together, and it was fun, and you could meet new people. And we did our best, Laura and I, to partner people based on interests and location, and, you know, how can they get a peer mentor? How they can a mentor that's more senior? How do they mentor someone else? You know, trying to find a way to fit those 20-minute increment blocks, you know, really well for the people that attended. So we were also lucky with the URL, mentorship matchmaking. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And we since have seen many people have reached out to us and asked us if they could basically franchise, and we're like, yes, but we're not ready yet.
Wow.
But we're like, you can definitely take like the construct of what we've learned and feel free to make their own. So they did some, one of the attendees did one in India. There was some in-house that was done, you know, for different organizations. Tescia Deak was going to put one on. But I was leaving at the time. So I was like, yeah, go ahead, guys, keep doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool that we were able to inspire other people to take that, you know, meet and greet, especially over Zoom, which, you know, so many entry level jobs, you know, they don't get the opportunity to like talk to the CCO ever. So taking that and using it for, you know, in-house and agencies.
That's honestly so brilliant. Congratulations. And you're so right. Like I remember the first like 6 months of pandemic during the lockdown. I was just like, oh, like seeing people is just so to be. I don't remember the last time I went for a walk with anyone or even went to networking events. And it's so important in these industries. So it's so amazing that you created that because people were longing for that.
Yeah, thanks.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I was just gonna say, like, I feel like most of the work that you've done so far and like with the passion that you were just discussing there, there's a lot of purpose behind what you do. Is that the kind of things that speak to you? Are those the projects that you like working on the most?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I've had that question asked me a couple times, and on
Yeah.
Friday I actually had another interview. So thank you for moving this, by the way. It was
Oh,
like
it's
that's too
fine.
many in one day. Um, and it was a through line of our conversation is always, you know, purpose driven work. And somebody had asked me a while ago, is it something that you seek out, or is it something that you have been given? And most of the time it's I seek out, but I think it's also the things I'm most proud of that I feel like have the best examples of my type of thinking. I have tons of work that's not purpose driven. It's just, do I think it's the best representative of like my talent? Probably not. So I put forward that those pieces of work, but I also seek them out. So we talked a little about earlier, like creating your own brief, right? That's something that I do with my teams, right? Or with my agency. It's like, okay, what's a problem here? What's a world problem that we can solve? What's the freak fact? You know what I mean? Like, how do we solve this freak fact? Or is the freak fact the solution? Not sure. So it's just finding those things, and like a lot of times they will lead for good, which I'm super grateful for. But I'm kind of in this camp of the next. Ultimately, I'm sure I'll continue to do purpose-driven work forever, because it's like we're all human beings and we all need to find kind of an emotional connection, especially to a brand. So I definitely think that it is still in trend, and brands have like the opportunity and the responsibility to speak about how we can help each other as humans, right? That'll always continue. But I'm also looking forward to do stuff that is really dumb, like really just stupid.
I love that. Really dumb. I like the description.
Yeah.
And what has the highlight been for you so far in your career? I know you've had a very long career so far. Like, what's your highlight?
Oh, wow.
If you could pick.
Well, I guess the highlight is coming up for me. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but I'm going to be going to Cannes on Friday, and I'm part of the See It Be It program. I've been waiting 2 years for it, and I'm just so thrilled to meet all of the other, wonderful finalists that I'm with. I've had a chance to talk to most of them for the last 2 years, and then we were really like fortunate to bring in 5 more winners that are new to the program. So it's almost like I got kind of an extended version
Yeah.
of the program, because I've had it for 2 years. They gave us access to the Lions membership. We've had like over the phone kind of mentorship and opportunities. We've talked to each other. Some of us have, like, some of my friends and peers have created, you know, little side projects through it. But I'm really excited to go to Cannes this year. I'm also excited because a couple of our projects have been shortlisted in titanium and innovation. And so I'm excited for those presentations, and the opportunity to, talk about, the projects
Yeah.
in Cannes, and really just be at the Palais and be able to see all the good work. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be so busy.
Have you picked your
And
outfits yet?
scary. We just went to AICP this week,
Yeah.
just because we wanted to like go to the MoMA at night. We didn't have anything entered, and a friend of ours was in town from London, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to AICP." So we went with him, and there were so many people there. I was just almost flabbergasted. I was like, how are we going to even be at Cannes? This is going to be wild.
Have you picked your outfit yet?
I ordered some stuff from Sense. It's a French Canadian.
Okay.
And they told me that it was going to be here in 2 to 3 days, and it's arriving the day after I leave. So we need to sort that out.
Oh no.
I know. So I did pick a lot of outfits, but will they arrive? We don't know yet.
No negative vibes here. It's gonna arrive, okay? Positive thinking.
Positive thinking. Everything that is good enough is at the dry cleaner at the moment.
Okay. But we have a backup plan. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
One question I love to ask everyone also is, what does authenticity look like to you? And also, what advice would you give to anyone who's within this industry looking to work up or do a role like yours? What's your top advice?
Okay, definitely 2 separate questions. So
Yeah.
I'm going to answer authenticity first. What does authenticity look like to me? Communication. I just think that communication is key. I think that people can misunderstand situations, and there could be like drama and politics, and even just clear communication in our own communication, right, in our advertising. I think communication is key. But I do think, again, communication comes from listening. So as far as authenticity, it's like I'm kind of in the camp of creating long-term relationships with friends, colleagues, and clients. I have a really hard time and attention, like a very short attention span to like gab or like talk shop. Like I just probably when I'm in Canada, I'll go hide somewhere in a corner and like whatever. But I think just again, less about you, learn about the person you're with. You know, I say this as I've just been talking about myself the whole time though, Deana.
That's the point.
Um,
That's the point. No.
so yeah, I think for authenticity, that is it. And I think, you know, it's an interesting question because I think with age, I've understood like my authentic self a bit more.
Right.
The last couple of years, I've really come back into who I am, that I felt like I was the most confident when I was in high school, right? And like the 20s just really ruined me.
Mm.
Like my 20s, I don't know what they did to me anyway. So I think it's just like tapping into what ultimately makes you happy, and then how can you be your best self, and then versus like being a mask of yourself or trying to be something else. I had a really great piece of advice from my mentor, Karin Ostinger-Birch. She's the VP creative of Lyft. And she was telling me, she's like, when I stopped trying to like, I don't know, be the man's role in the male creative leader, you know, world, she's like, things just made so much more sense, you
Mm.
know, and everything just got so much better. So just really owning, you know, my femininity and, you know, owning my empathy and things and characteristics that make me particularly great at my job that others don't carry. That's my authenticity, you know. Um, my top advice is when you have the energy, work as hard as you can. It's that very controversial Kim Kardashian line of like, nobody wants to get out and work.
Yes.
But kind of. Yeah, you need to get out and work. And it's funny because, you know, everything that I have success from is because of tiresome, very tired nights, you know, very long nights, long evenings, just trying to get to the finish line. I'm kind of in this like period right now of chilling, which
And
is a really interesting space to be. But I have worked so hard for the last 2 years that just up until I can, I'm just going to slide right in there. And then after it's over, I'll be 150% again. But I'm just at
wow.
100 right now. And I'm like, 100 is also pretty good.
100's really good, Tescia.
Really good. But yeah, I just think like, I feel like so many people in our industry are just like obsessed, but like in such a good way in solving problems creatively. So, you know, just do whatever you can. And if it's not available for you, then make it like make your own brief, right? Just do whatever you can to get there. I think, you know, that's a risk that you got to take. You just have to keep going and you can always apologize later.
Oh, I love that. Say sorry later. That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that advice with me. And honestly, like I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are and you've got an outfit to find as well for Cannes. So I really appreciate you talking with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I really, really had a good time.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Can I just ask, are you on Instagram or anything? If people want to follow you or find you, where can people find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram and TikTok, but I mostly post on Instagram. It's Teshi Tesh, TESHIETESH.
Okay.
That's the same handle for both and also for Twitter. I got the same across all three. And then
Lucky.
LinkedIn is just my first and last name. Anybody's also welcome to add me. Happy to connect with people on LinkedIn. And I mostly post photos of the things that I do and my dog.
Amazing. What dog
Yeah.
do you have?
I have a Morkie. He's a Maltese Yorkie.
Oh, I've never heard of that before.
He's a criminal. And they all look the same. I was actually just Googling Morkie, and they all look identical. So they've got to be aliens. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I have a Shiba Inu and every single Shiba Inu looks the same. If I lost my dog, I will not know who's who. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Totally.
Thank you so much. Best of luck with Cannes, and I hope you have an amazing time. And I really look forward to seeing what else you get up to.
Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.